fuck me, it's been near 6 months since my last fight, isn't it? March. Madness. Crazy 6 months like. Since I've been getting back to training, I've just had a horrific run of just injury after injury after fucking injury. It really has been a trying 6 months like. There's been some spells of fantastic training, like really good, and then there's been, like, for example, just before I done my shoulder, I had like maybe a 4-week period of in and out of training with a knee injury from sparring, and I was just in for a couple of days, out for a day, in for a few days, out for a couple of days, amazing week, then out for a week, like just a weird ass injury. And for me, that's almost the worst thing, is the up and down and thinking, right, I'm back, and then you're out again, and then I'm back, and then you're out again. And at this point, I was hoping to be fighting again in when was it, June there. So the injuries, like, so it was such a stressful time for me, like trying to get ready and then getting injured, and then fucking the fight's getting closer while trying to get a fight anyway. I didn't have a fight, and obviously I hadn't got the world title shot either. That's maybe fucking silver lining there, because if I had got the title shot, I would have had it pulled out. Do you know what I mean? I was just in that bad of a physical state. But yeah, I guess that maybe happened for a reason. It would probably be even more gutted if I had pulled out from my first world title fight. So I guess I gotta just sort of flip it and look at it in that perspective. But to be able to be there with Joe as well was amazing. Like, fuck me, it was honestly one of the best weekends of my life. Like, it really was, to be there and to share that with someone who's been there in the trenches with you the entire time, and just to see them lift the world title. Like, it was a beautiful, really beautiful time, beautiful experience, and something I'll never forget. Like, and of course greatly motivating as well, like, to see my teammate do that. So fucking hell.
As you can see, Paul does everything 110%.
That's hard. I battered him at handball there Sunday, so he's still a bit
Did he
annoyed.
tell you what the score was? No. He said, well, we played the 15.
See, I put an Instagram on the match point for me to win it.
We played the 15, he didn't score, and then went to 20, he didn't score, and then went to 25, he didn't score, and went to... He says, look, if you get the 30 and I don't score, we'll finish it. We got the 30. Isn't that right? And the one rally that he won, he put it on Instagram.
So that's me hitting a fucking wonder shot there. What do you see, Marco? Miss, and that was game point. That was a game point, that's why I'm celebrating. Yes, he did, maybe 30-0. Didn't score 1 point.
Fucking somewhere cheap.
Gareth sees a fucking camera and he thinks he's on his OnlyFans account again.
What did you say, Paul?
Says you see a camera and you think you're on your OnlyFans account again. Huh?
For $9.99 a month.
Then I fucking done my shoulder, my rotator cuff, which is like one of the worst things you could possibly do in MMA, because you think about how much rotation is needed in your shoulder joint for full power punches. Like, for a couple of weeks I was literally like, I was maybe at about 45 degrees I could lift my shoulder. But right before Cage Warriors, I couldn't run, couldn't swim because of this. Like, I couldn't punch because this knuckle's still a wee bit jacked up from my last fight, another injury. So there was a couple of week period where I was just like, I can't do anything for the first time in my life. Like, even when I had the hand injuries and stuff, like, I was always able to run, hit with one hand, like do my sprints, whatever. As you could just imagine, whenever your whole life's dedicated to fucking training 2-3 times a day, like, that's fucked up. Like, that's a fucking, like, I'd say probably the most trying time in my career so far. Like, even worse, it's obviously there's a bit of recency bias there, like, but I would say probably worse than the hand injuries. The difference is with the hand injuries, like, I just had one pro fight, so I was just up and comer. I was young, 19, 20 or whatever, so all I had to focus on was just getting back to fighting, and I was able to travel, do other things in the meantime, whereas now I have so much pressure. So, like, I'm coming for world titles, so I mean my next fight's gonna be fighting for world titles. These are massive events, like, that you have to be ready for. Not only that, there's people coming from my tail, do you know what I mean? Especially in Cage Warriors, do you know what I mean? I'm gonna be the world champion very soon, so all these other guys coming up will be training to beat me and to be the best. So I put a hell of a lot of pressure on myself, and that's what's needed to be the best in the world. Very simple. But also something I got thinking about a lot is, it's funny that all this pressure you put on yourself can be offset whenever you're in a correct training regime. So when I'm training 2 or 3 times a day, like getting all my sessions in, my sparring, my sprints, putting in hours every day, like the anxiety levels are almost zero. Like I don't give a fuck if anyone's training hard to beat me, because in my mind nobody's training harder than me. So there's like, that's what offsets the anxiety of putting a lot of pressure on yourself. So whenever you're injured and you're coming in, then you're out, then you're in, then you're out, and then you do your shoulder and you're out for fucking whatever, 5-6 weeks, the anxiety levels go up because you're thinking, I'm not getting better here. I am not improving almost at all I can do is study fights, run a little bit. Like, I'm not improving. All these guys are coming to get me here. Complete frustration, like total frustration and anger almost of just, I couldn't believe that shit was happening to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, but here we are, like, we're back. You know what I mean? We're probably 11 weeks out from the next show. Now, I still don't know what the situation is with the featherweight division. The champion, he's out. I can only assume that they're going to do an interim belt, which means your boy's there. Like, I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that belt. Well, it should be against the born little Frenchman, Morgan Charriere. Absolutely should be against him. Like, he can't really turn down the fight. And I was trying to put myself in his shoes and say, what would I say? Like, if he was guaranteed the unified title shot, then he'd probably going to say, nah, I'm just going to wait for it. But if they put on the interim belt, then that's the belt. Do you know what I mean? That is the world title belt. Interim, yes, fucking unify it after, but he'll have no choice. So he'll have to fight me. And fuck, I've been calling for that fight for the fucking little going cunt since March of last year. Do you know what I mean? 1.5 years I've been calling for that fight. So, Chapa, you're next. I fucking hope so anyway. We'll see.
Has he responded to your call out?
Has he? Fuck, I be DMing him every day. So I do send them videos. Fucking people don't understand how nuts I am. Like, but it's good to be back into a full training routine. Like, that was a hard morning there. I was about 1.5 hours of strength work, or about that, maybe a bit less. And then there's 12 rounds of pads there with Shando. So I'll get a swim in and a sauna and a cold shower. What time is it? 10 to 2. So I'll go get that and get a bit of food, and then I'll hit sparring tonight with the boys down in Lanka. Lanka is like one of the top Muay Thai gyms in the country, where Garrett and Niall and all them boys train out of. Wednesdays are sparring night down at the gym, so I'll just head down there. Because why not, get the extra work in. Maybe get a couple of black eyes, but I don't care. I'm right in the deep end again, and this is where I want to be for the foreseeable until I'm champ of the world. Like, so everything else is just out. I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck about anything anymore. Like, not that I did, but when you're out with injury, you try to keep your mind on other things, and you do like maybe normal people things. Fuck that, man. Fuck that. I'm tunnel vision here for 11 weeks till I get this belt, and then I'm tunnel vision for another fucking whatever 10, 12 weeks until I unify that belt. So yeah, big year.
To be honest, I think the featherweight division is born. Morgan Charriere, you're fucking next.